Hello, this is John Landers from TBAIMS. It used to be the Big Apple Indie Music Series in New York, and now it's known as the Best Artist Indie Music Series going forward from Florida. This is my second interview with our very first actually artist that performed for us back in January of 2013 at Gibson Guitar Studios. And this is Tatiana Owens. Tatiana, thank you for joining us today for this get together. And I really appreciate your taking the time to do this.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. So Tatiana has had a heck of a great career so far. She's a singer, songwriter, performer, recording artist, kind of reading off a little bit. Um, Been on TV shows, networks, CBS and Netflix, MTV, VH1, Showtime, just to mention some. And I see you had some pretty good new songs coming out back in 2022 and 23. In my world, you got to remember Invincible, it's on your actually your website. I saw that. Let me just make sure that's all current. Yeah, that's right. So first question is, when did you first get signed with TC Music?
So it was actually back when I was like 15 years old, which is over 15 years ago. um,
Wow.
yeah, so it's been for about 15 to 16 years now, and um, I would go back and forth because I'm originally from Ohio, so I would go back and forth from Ohio to New York to do sort of like an artist development, sort of, a recording session, getting to know the studio and learning all of these things about being a demo vocalist first.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then one day we were in the studio, and the writer that I was doing the demo vocals for, he didn't have the second verse written. And so he was like, "You want to try?" And I was like, "Okay." And it ended up being the best part of the song. So he was like,
Awesome.
"You want to just rewrite the whole thing?" So, um,
Wow.
so yeah, I started that way, and then it kind of, yeah, went from there.
So let me ask you, what was your impression performing at the Big Apple Indie Music Series back then? What did you think of that?
I had so much fun. I It's been a while actually. Now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow, it's been a while. But um yeah, it was a great time. I think I was with my guitarist at the time, Andy Bianco, and he's, such a great guitarist. But I think back then I was singing some of the stuff that I hadn't even released at that time. It was just still
Hmm.
new and fresh. And yeah, but it was a great time, and it was very, very new.
Okay. So when did you first realize that music was your calling?
um it was actually in performance. I've been singing since I was a little kid, and singing, in church, and singing in different venues and different state and local games for governmental things and military things and whatever. And I was singing all over the place, and I still didn't realize that I wanted music to be my life until I went to an art school. And it was the first time that I had gotten on like a big stage. And I remember getting on the stage, and it was a musical. It was Annie, and the
Oh,
spotlight hit me, and I was like, "This is what I want to do for the rest of my life."
very
So
cool.
yeah.
Who are your influences in the music that you perform?
So I'm a big fan of, I don't know if you can see this shirt, Shaka Khan.
Ah,
I'm
okay.
a huge fan of Shaka Khan. I love, her, how she sounds like an instrument. I'm super inspired by her, and Stevie Wonder, and Michael Jackson and Prince, and all of the legends. I feel like are just kind of like, my go-to. I I mean, I try to listen to new and current music, but I'm really just so inspired by them that I'll just go back and listen to their music over and over again. So.
Very nice.
Mhm.
And what do you find have been your challenges in getting into this career to get you
Um,
started? What was
it's
your
always,
challenges back then?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I would say the challenges first and foremost are, and it still rings true today, even with, artists trying to become major artists or joining major labels is that it's always you can't do something before you do that thing. So, for example, I was getting into the songwriting process of things, and I would work with, certain producers, but not everybody wants to work with you unless you have a hit. Well, how are you going to have a
Mhm.
hit if you don't work with, said
Catch
producer?
22.
Yes. And so it's the same thing. Like they want you to become, they won't sign you unless you become viral. But how are you going to become viral if you don't have that backing, to become
Yes.
viral? So I think that's always been a challenge. I think that's always been a challenge in, um, you know, just in general with breaking into the industry.
Did you teach yourself social media and how to get that promotion going?
Yes, so we learned about the algorithms and, that sort of thing about having to post all the time. And I still even struggle with that today. Like, honestly, I thank God for my management because they post more on my Facebook platforms and, TikTok more than I do, which
Hmm.
I'm very grateful for because I really it's like the time. Like, it's like, do you have enough time? And a lot of times people hire people to do that kind of thing because it's just so much work. So
It is.
yeah.
Which social media sites do you think works best for you so far at this point?
I've been seeing that Instagram works better. People are
Hmm.
visual.
Yeah.
So, like if they can see photos, if they can see you making videos or if you're talking, it keeps their interest. And a lot of times less writing on posts get the most uh attention. So like if you have a lot of writing on your flyers or promotional things or whatever it may be, people have such a short attention span these days. So
That's true.
it doesn't get a lot of recognition, and you'll notice like on your numbers that the insights are either up or down, and a lot of times on a lot of flyers or promotional tools that people put out, the more writing that is on there, the less,
People
insight.
will pay attention to that. Yeah. Do you? I'm just curious. Do you like TikTok? I'm not a big fan of TikTok myself. But
So
that's my age.
I've been trying. The thing is I like to watch TikTok more than I like to post on TikTok, which is a problem,
Yeah.
obviously. But I I do like TikTok and the natural sort of audience that it draws. Like people who wouldn't normally follow you may follow you off of a hashtag that they happen to come across.
Hmm.
Which I do appreciate that value of TikTok. I found that like a lot of times if I jump on a trend of singing a song or I think there was like a Disney thing that I put out and I was like, oh, I love to do Disney voices, and I posted a Disney, a Little Mermaid. They were doing Part of Your World, and it was like a viral thing that everybody was jumping on. And I got on it, and then people that have never met me before, or that certain audience that I've never seen before, came to my profile and started following me on TikTok. So it sort of draws that natural audience, and
Hmm.
I appreciate that for sure.
Have you looked into like also Thread? That's it seems to be a newer.
Threads, yeah, yeah. So I just got into that, and it seems like it's the same thing as Twitter, or X,
Yeah.
whatever we're calling it these days. But
X.
um,
I pulled out of X or Twitter. I just don't think it's what it was.
it's not. It's certainly not what it was, and yeah, I definitely I've seen it, and I've seen more people coming on the platform, which is always a great thing. But it's good to always get on something new before everybody gets on it, so that way you already have a base and like
Hmm.
you can keep building that base. So I found that yeah, whenever I do post, it does get engagement as of now, and who knows, maybe 3 years from now it'll just be so overcrowded like Twitter was that
Yeah.
the algorithm will be the same as it was. So I don't know, we'll see.
Do you have a team that helps get you on online radio networks, or is that something you do yourself, or is that TC's job?
So actually, a lot of times, TC Music, my management, they will help me and get my name out there. But it's actually been a natural draw for the last 2 years, because of the kind of music that I've been doing. So it's like the house music and the disco music is really big in the UK,
Hmm.
and it's actually becoming popular over here in America too. So a lot of the DJs who have online radios and radio stations and a following have heard the song already, because my last 3 songs have been #1 on Track Source, which is like the major outlet that people go to for house and disco music. So
Hmm.
it's been #1 for multiple weeks, and because of that, they look at the #1 song so that they can play it on their radio station. And
Nice.
so it's sort of been drawing a natural audience, and I've been able to, get a lot of success with that, and more DJs are reaching out, and more, producers are reaching out to work with me and everything like that. So it's kind of been cool that we haven't had to really, market specifically towards specific, online radio stations.
Have you ever looked at gigmore.com for finding gigs? Are you familiar with that site?
I have not. No, I haven't. I haven't heard that term.
GIGMOR.
Okay.
That's for finding gigs, and there's another one, GigMit, MIT, GIGMIT.com. That's
Okay.
more. They're mainly in Europe. If you want
Hmm.
to tour over there, but they also started to come over here. And the other one I think would be good for you if you haven't used it yet to promote your on live gigs is Bands in Town. Are you familiar with
Oh, I've heard of Bands in
bandsintown.com?
Town. Yep. I've heard of
It's
that.
a great way to organically build your fan base.
Yeah.
Highly recommend that.
Yeah.
I've been working with all these, over the years, just connecting with all these people and understanding their platforms.
Yeah.
Because I mean, back in the day when we were doing our shows, I was actually reached out, I had been reached out by other venues asking for fill-ins, and they have a cancellation. They'd contact us to see if we had anybody we could, suggest to them. So those are good to know. Let's So that's pretty much what I wanted to ask you. I wanted to share for everyone on here some of your sites. So let me get out of this one. Actually, close that off. So I'm going to share this screen, and this is your main website right here,
Correct. Yeah.
TatianaOwens.com, for anyone who wants to check everything out here. It's
Yeah.
it's a really good. That Invincible is awesome. I really enjoyed listening to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then I'm going to kind of this is my new iMac. Everything kind of pops in and pops out. There we go. This is
Thank
your Spotify playlist. You have some pretty good followings too, a lot of followers, which I think is
Yeah.
impressive
Yeah.
over the years. And that takes time. You got to do it organically because you can't buy followers. That's something I highly do not recommend.
Very
Um,
true. These are all organic. They're certainly not bought.
yeah, yep. So that's your Spotify. Then this is your Instagram. I see you have quite a good following there, 3,000 plus. And then we have Facebook, which you have over 3,000 there, which is pretty decent. And then finally, let's go to this one, YouTube. And I also YouTube's important. I think that's a good place to be. In fact, this interview will be on YouTube when we're done.
Okay.
Um,
Awesome.
and I'll let you, I'll send out a link to you for that. Because I think it's important to, catch up. 10 years is a long time to pass through a career. And I'm surprised I'm still here because I haven't done a showcase since I moved to Florida. Well, actually, I did two, but one I won't count. And that's because I'm just learning this area more, and the venues are a little bit different.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but I won't go into that. This is about you. And that's what I wanted to share with everyone. Stop that. So I really appreciate taking the time to do this. It will be out there. And if you wait a minute, I'll just stop the recording and thank you everyone for joining us today. And This will be this is only the second of many coming going forward, because I want to be interviewing other artists who performed at TBAIMS in the past. So I'm going to stop the recording.